A lot of times I don't want to buy a car, but the story is so good that you have to buy the car. Most fun I've had spending money, you can't really be a big shot in Hollywood or anything because there's so much money here, you're not going to impress anybody.
Jay Leno, the man whose voice and humor defined late-night television for decades, is known for his charm, wit, and the iconic Tonight Show legacy. Millions tuned in nightly to see his jokes, his cars, and his signature grin. But behind the spotlight lies a story that is far more complex than anyone imagined. As he steps away from the camera, whispers have emerged about the staggering fortune he has accumulated and the emotional toll it's taking on his family. Though Leno always appeared the jovial, ever-smiling host, few realized the meticulous planning, relentless work ethic, and shrewd investments that built his empire. From his comedy tours to his car collection, each decision contributed to a wealth so massive it has left loved ones in awe, and in some cases, conflict. Family members have reportedly been caught off guard by the scale of his fortune, revealing tensions and difficult choices behind the scenes. But this story isn't just about money. It's about legacy, expectations, and the human side of one of America's most beloved entertainers. How did Jay Leno, the boy from New Rochelle, build an empire that millions envy? And why is his wealth causing tears and strain for those closest to him? Tonight, we peel back the curtain to uncover the truth behind Jay Leno's fortune, the challenges it brings to his family, and the secrets that no one expected from the man who made America laugh for generations. Jay Leno's journey to fame began far from the bright lights of Hollywood. Born James Douglas Muir Leno on April 28, 1950, in New Rochelle, New York, he grew up in a modest, hard-working family. His father, Angelo Leno, worked as a musician and insurance salesman, and his mother, Catherine, managed the household with care. From an early age, Jay was immersed in a world that valued humor, discipline, and persistence, qualities that would later define his career. Even as a boy, he displayed a love for comedy, often performing for family members and friends, mimicking television personalities, and dreaming of one day making a living from laughter. After high school, Leno pursued a degree in speech therapy at Emerson College, but his passion for comedy never wavered. He spent nights performing stand-up at local clubs, gradually building a reputation as a sharp, observational comic. By the mid-1970s, he had made his first appearances on The Tonight Show starring Johnny Carson, a critical stepping stone that would eventually launch him to national prominence. Leno's humor, relatable, witty, and often self-deprecating, resonated with audiences, setting him apart in a competitive field. In 1992, Jay Leno was named the permanent host of The Tonight Show, following a legendary career by Johnny Carson. The transition was not without controversy, but Leno's relentless work ethic, preparation, and undeniable talent helped him win over critics and viewers alike. Under his tenure, the show dominated late-night ratings for years, cementing his status as a television icon. Each episode reflected Leno's meticulous attention to detail, from writing jokes to rehearsing interviews, a process few fans realized behind the effortless charm on screen. Beyond television, Leno cultivated a keen sense for business and investment. He understood the importance of diversifying income, leveraging his fame into profitable ventures. Comedy tours, television specials, and production deals multiplied his earnings, while his legendary passion for cars became both a hobby and a high-value investment. Over decades, his financial portfolio grew into a fortune that now rivals that of many A-list Hollywood celebrities. Yet, as his wealth expanded, so too did the complexity of managing it, especially when it came to family dynamics. Despite his success, Leno remained grounded in many ways. Colleagues often describe him as disciplined, generous, and intensely focused. He was known to mentor young comedians, nurture talent behind the scenes, and carefully curate the legacy of The Tonight Show. But this focus came at a cost. The pressures of fame, the demands of television, and the scrutiny of public life created an undercurrent of tension that few outside his inner circle could perceive. Behind the smiles and the jokes was a man balancing fortune, fame, and family in ways that were as challenging as they were extraordinary. Jay Leno's story, from small-town beginnings to late-night legend, is not just one of fame and success. It is also a story of planning, ambition, and the unexpected consequences of wealth. The fortune he leaves behind, impressive beyond imagination, carries with it questions, challenges, and even heartbreak for those closest to him. What began as a young boy's dream to make people laugh has become a legacy far larger and more complicated than anyone could have predicted. By the time Jay Leno stepped away from The Tonight Show, he had amassed a fortune that few could imagine. Over decades, his relentless work ethic, combined with savvy investments and a string of successful comedy tours, had created wealth on a scale rivaling Hollywood's elite. Yet, as impressive as the numbers were, the fortune carried complexities that began to affect those closest to him, his family. Leno's income sources were as varied as they were lucrative. Beyond television salaries, he earned from stand-up specials, guest appearances, book deals, and production ventures. Perhaps most surprising to the public was his legendary car collection. A lifelong enthusiast, Jay purchased, restored, and displayed hundreds of classic and rare vehicles. While many saw this as a personal passion, each car represented a significant financial investment, contributing to the extraordinary value of his estate. Friends and insiders often note that Leno's collection alone could rival the net worth of many small businesses. Managing such wealth, however, is rarely straightforward. Even the most organized estates can become points of tension when family members struggle to understand or align with the owner's vision. Leno's fortune, built over decades of disciplined work and careful decisions, introduced challenges in inheritance planning, expectations, and decision-making. Reports suggest that some family members were caught off guard by the scale of his assets, leading to emotional strain and difficult conversations. While Leno's intent has always been to provide for his loved ones, the sheer magnitude of his wealth introduced dynamics that no one could have fully predicted. The emotional side of wealth often receives less attention than the financial aspect, but in Jay Leno's case, it is inseparable from the story. Family members, though grateful, have reportedly struggled with the responsibilities and expectations attached to such fortune. Decisions about cars, properties, and investments became more than financial choices. They carried emotional weight. Moments that should have been celebratory instead sparked tension, highlighting how wealth, while empowering, can also bring unexpected pressure and heartache. Despite these challenges, Jay Leno's personal character shines through. Friends describe him as practical, generous, and meticulous. He takes care to ensure that his fortune is preserved, managed responsibly, and used wisely. Yet, even with his careful planning, the emotional consequences of wealth remain. A reminder that money cannot entirely smooth over family disagreements or personal frustrations. The very success that allowed him to live a life of luxury and comfort also carries a human cost, reflected in subtle tensions and moments of quiet disappointment among those he loves. Leno's story reveals a broader truth about the intersection of fame, fortune, and family. While the public sees the laughter, the late-night ratings, and the glamorous lifestyle, the private reality can be far more complicated. Wealth amplifies relationships for better and worse. It provides opportunity, security, and freedom, but it also introduces expectations, envy, and the potential for conflict. For Jay Leno, the challenge has been balancing the empire he built with the emotional needs of his family, a task that continues even after stepping away from the spotlight. Ultimately, Jay Leno's fortune is a testament to decades of hard work, discipline, and intelligence. It is a reflection of a man who built an empire from talent, passion, and vision. But it is also a reminder that wealth, no matter how impressive, cannot eliminate the complexities of human relationships. For Leno and his family, money represents both a blessing and a challenge. A legacy that inspires awe, yet also carries moments of tension and heartache, revealing the hidden cost behind the laughter that made Jay Leno a household name. Jay Leno's career is often celebrated as the story of a self-made man who turned talent into an empire. But behind the late-night jokes, laughter, and accolades lies a narrative of personal sacrifice and private struggles. The very fortune that brings admiration and envy also comes with responsibilities, tensions, and emotional weight that few outside his inner circle fully grasp. Throughout his decades on The Tonight Show, Leno's life was defined by relentless schedules and an unwavering commitment to excellence. He worked tirelessly, hosting nightly broadcasts, traveling for comedy tours, writing, and managing investments. The public saw the polished performance, the charisma, the humor, and the effortless charm. But behind the scenes, there were long hours, physical exhaustion, and moments of personal isolation. Balancing fame and family became a constant challenge, with Leno often forced to put career obligations ahead of relationships and personal time. Family dynamics became increasingly complex as his wealth grew. The very fortune that symbolizes achievement and security also introduced difficult decisions. Questions of inheritance, asset management, and responsibility created tension and stress. While Leno's intent was always to provide for his loved ones, the scale of his wealth, including his multi-million-dollar car collection, properties and investments, sometimes led to disagreements and emotional strain. Even in a family grounded in love, money has the power to complicate connections, spark misunderstandings, and create difficult choices that weigh heavily on everyone involved. Health and personal well-being were other private challenges. Decades of performing, irregular hours, and constant pressure took a toll on Leno's physical and mental state. He maintained his resilience through discipline, routine, and a passion for work. But the burden of sustaining both a career and an enormous fortune was never trivial. Friends and collaborators often describe him as highly focused, meticulous, and generous, yet quietly burdened by the unseen pressures that accompany life at the top. Despite the emotional challenges, Leno has managed to transform pressure into purpose. His fortune enabled him to pursue passions beyond comedy, including philanthropy, car collecting, and supporting emerging talent. He leveraged his position to mentor young comedians, invest wisely, and maintain a legacy that extends far beyond television ratings. These actions reveal a man who, while deeply aware of the pressures and potential pitfalls of wealth, continues to use his resources responsibly and meaningfully. Jay Leno's story demonstrates a universal truth about success. The higher one climbs, the more complex life becomes. Wealth provides comfort, opportunity, and security, but it cannot erase human struggles, familial tension, or the cost of a demanding career. Leno's fortune, vast as it is, represents both triumph and challenge, illustrating that the man behind the laughter is deeply human, navigating responsibilities, emotions, and relationships just like anyone else. As the public celebrates Jay Leno's accomplishments, it is essential to remember the personal sacrifices and private challenges that accompanied his rise. The fortune he leaves behind is staggering, yes, but it comes intertwined with human experiences that include strain, compromise, and heartache. Understanding this duality gives a fuller picture of the man behind the microphone, a legend in comedy, a shrewd investor, and a human being shaped by both success and its complex consequences. As Jay Leno enters the later stages of his life and career, the focus shifts from late-night ratings to the legacy he leaves behind, both as a television icon and as a man who has amassed extraordinary wealth. While the public sees the charm, humor, and the gleaming smile that made him a household name, the private reality is more complex. His fortune, built over decades, has brought both comfort and unexpected challenges for those closest to him. Leno's wealth is the culmination of relentless work, smart investments, and a passion that extended beyond comedy. From The Tonight Show to stand-up tours, production ventures, and his legendary car collection, every step of his career contributed to a financial empire. Yet managing such a vast fortune comes with responsibilities that are both practical and emotional. Family members, though grateful, have reportedly struggled with the pressure, expectations, and complicated decisions tied to his estate. What should have been a source of security sometimes became a source of tension, as loved ones navigated the realities of wealth on an unprecedented scale. Despite these challenges, Leno has approached his legacy with care and intention. He has been deliberate in how he structures his estate, ensuring that his fortune is preserved and managed responsibly. His guidance extends beyond money. It reflects a desire to balance familial responsibility with personal freedom. Friends and insiders note that Leno's meticulous nature, which made him a legendary late-night host, also governs how he handles his wealth, demonstrating thoughtfulness and foresight in planning for the future. Yet the emotional cost of success cannot be ignored. Leno's family has faced moments of strain and heartache, illustrating a truth often overlooked. Money can magnify relationships, both positively and negatively. Even when built through decades of dedication, fortune introduces complexities that require negotiation, compromise, and emotional resilience. Leno's story highlights that the human side of wealth is as significant as the financial side, reminding us that fortune does not shield anyone from the challenges of life. Ultimately, Jay Leno's life is a study in contrasts, humor and hard work, fame and privacy, fortune and emotional complexity. His legacy is not only in the jokes he delivered, the guests he interviewed, or the record-breaking ratings he achieved, but also in how he has navigated the responsibilities of wealth with care, intelligence, and consideration. The laughter he brought to millions is inseparable from the quieter lessons he leaves for those who will inherit both his fortune and his story. At 75, Jay Leno remains a figure of influence, respect, and admiration. Yet the story of his wealth reminds us that every triumph carries unseen burdens. Behind the fortune is a man who has worked tirelessly, loved deeply, and faced the complexities of life head-on. His family may shed tears over the challenges his fortune presents, but they also inherit the enduring legacy of a life defined by ambition, humor, and resilience. In the end, Jay Leno's fortune is more than numbers on a ledger. It is a reflection of a lifetime of dedication, the price of success, and the profound humanity behind the icon.